لكن إننا مرقنا ده يوم ده بالليل مرقنا.
خايفة لهم والله، خايفة لهم يوم الدرب ورباط جارين وديل بس أنا خايفين.
As of 31st of January, we passed the 1 million mark.
Chad is a landlocked nation located in north-central Africa. It is bordered by Libya to the north, Niger to the west, Nigeria to the southwest, Cameroon to the southwest, the Central African Republic to the south, and Sudan to the east. To understand the refugee crisis in Chad, it is important to go back more than 2 decades ago when the conflict in Sudan began. Darfur has been in conflict for decades. On April 25, 2003, one of Sudan's main rebel group, the Sudan Liberation Movement, attacked Sudanese military forces in North Darfur. The years that followed would see hundreds of thousands killed and millions more uprooted from their homes as a result of the war that ensued. 20 years later, on April 15, 2023, more civilians fled intense fighting between the Sudanese armed forces under the command of General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which emerged from the Janjaweed militia headed by General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, alias Hemedti. They've been battling for control of the capital Khartoum, Darfur, and other parts of the country. And this has resulted in an influx of refugees in Chad.
All the refugees that cross into Chad, as of 31st of January, we passed the 1 million mark.
Close to 300,000 of them are in Adre, Chad's eastern border that's about just 400 meters away from Sudan. Adre is more than 1,000 kilometers away from Chad's capital, N'Djamena. The easiest route there is by airplane, but even so, the only available flight is a United Nations plane. And it's just one flight to Adre every day from Monday to Friday. Now, I knew we would hit the ground running upon landing, and so I went through my notes one more time for another mental picture of Adre before seeing the real thing in a few hours. In no time, we got to where we would call home for the next few days. Adre, whose population I was told has increased more than 5-fold since 2023, that's when the refugees came in.
Now, there are 30 true entry points to Chad, and one of the main entry points is Adre, where I am currently.
Our first story source was right here with us. Our driver Ayub Mukhtar. He fled Sudan last year, June.
والبلد يعني الحمد لله ما بطالة، لكن المعيشة فيها شوية صعبة وجبارة يعني. ومش أنا براي كل الناس اللي نزعوا من السودان في وضع ما تمام، وضع ما مطمن يعني. الحمد لله عايشين، لكن عايشين معيشة صعبة شوية. الناس القاعدة في معاناة وفي نقص كثير يعني في البلد يعني.
He took us to the border point. Along the way, we could see many people riding horse carts, most of them traders, while others had just gotten to Chad from Sudan. At the border, I met determined, unbowed, and resilient people. Life has thrown so much at them, but like the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonades out of them.
So every day here at the Chad-Sudan border, traders who are a mix of Sudanese and Chadians come here to do exactly that, engage in trade, okay? So some of them, especially the Sudanese, cannot go home to Sudan. So at this exact point is where the trade happens between the Sudanese living in Chad, the refugees in Chad, and the Sudanese who have opted to stay home in Darfur especially, because most of the Sudanese refugees here say it's too risky to go back home. So they carry their goods, come to this border point and trade with the people who are still living in Darfur, and that way both the Sudanese refugees here in Chad and the Sudanese people in Sudan make a living.
Some mothers coming into Chad for the first time had to make tough decisions.
عيالي دقاق خليته هنا قروش ما في جيت قال نشتغل هنا نلقى القروض ونرسل له بعد ذاك هم عيالي ذات يجوني هنا عشان ده قصت عليهم زارف شين زار ومشاكل عجيب ذاتها خايفة لهم والله خايفة لهم يوم الدرب وربات جارين وديل بس أنا خايفين.
Hajara approached me and left me impressed. See, all this young girl wanted from me was a laptop to help further her studies even while in Chad.
طيارة بس جابانا احنا كان قاعدين الأيامات اللي فاتت ما في طيران، لكن الأيام دي في طيران يعني يومي قاعد تجي، عشان كده يعني اقتنعنا وجينا من المكان ده.
This Adre crossing that's also essential for food aid had been closed last year after the government restricted its use, saying the RSF used it to transport weapons, which it denied. It was reopened in August following pressure from international bodies, including the United Nations.
وافقت مفوضية العون الإنساني ليس إكراها ولا ضغطا، لكن من ضمن المسؤولية وتسهيل الإجراءات الخاصة بتسهيل وصول المساعدات الإنسانية، وحتى إنه ما ندي فرصة للجانب الآخر يتكلم عن.
Now there are two vibrant markets in Adre. At this main one, the Chadians and Sudanese engage in trading activities.
Non, c'est la population eux-mêmes qui permet d'accueillir. C'est eux qui sont accueillis d'abord les réfugiés. Il n'y a pas d'entre-forum, collaboration, parfaite collaboration avec la population. C'est ça, c'est vrai. Ceux qui sont dans les villes ici, parce que là où nous avons logé, c'est les réfugiés, à peu près 50 000 habitants, là ils sont là. Ça, c'est les terres appartiennent aux populations. C'est une place, c'est une partie qui est déjà bornée. Les populations, leurs papiers à main. Ils veulent que ces gens les déplacent dans les camps. Nous avons choisi plusieurs des cas, mais ils refusent d'aller. C'est ça notre préoccupation pour le moment.
Most contest the relocation to the new camps as they are much farther from the border and residential areas, which is where they get employment.
The ideal scenario is that the refugees would move away to permanent refugee camps that are more than 50 kilometers from the border, which is what international law would dictate. But international law also dictates that people can't be forcibly displaced. So it's, you know, the refugees in Adre are caught between a rock and a hard place.
The second market is here, near the Medicine Sans Frontier Health Center, MSF, where we met 66-year-old Ali Musa, who's been in Adre for 22 years. That's since the 2003 Sudan conflict began.
الزول ده بقتله إلا بيوم جو ولا لقوا الشعب كله قتلوه ما في المريض ده قاعد لكن أبوي أساسي ذاته أبوي ده كان إمام في الجامعة ده القتلوه له كتب كلها زقلوه في النار نانا 3 رجال ده فزينا شلنا إيانا والحمد لله جينا قاعدين.
His journey to Chad was not easy.
يا القدر ده كله سقناه وجبنا 2003 ده لكن في أخيرا أنا الجنينة ده كان لسه ساكت أنت زي ده شغل بسموه بون ده كان رمى ده خلاص أصل زي قولنا ده كله عالم بقى وايد 30-40 قتلوهم ده في الجنينة ولادي كله مات أنا مشيت بكان شطرة هنا كله ما لقيته.
Musa is a father of 6. He still carries the refugee tag and is uncertain of the future.
هاي أصبح ده كمان جبت الحطب ده نمشي بعيد ده كله ما أوفر ده القايدين بدقوم هذا كرانك تشوف ده والله تمشي تقطع شجرة ده أوفر ده الحكومة سي بدقونا وجيش دكي كله هنا البهايم بقى والله بدقونا من السبب الشاي ما تشرب يا تمشي تلاقي شيء كي تلاقي تجيبه سويت 4 كوم ده كوم 100 ما خلاص 400 تجي تعيش يالك وبكره كمان تجري.
While Musa casts his net again every single day, he also depends on aid from agencies whose future now stands uncertain following US President Donald Trump's foreign aid temporary freeze.
If you take money away, so this huge amount of American funding, if that is removed completely, then everybody's going to just start focusing on the very, very basics. So providing water and distributing food. There isn't really any room for protection, for education, for water and sanitation.
Back at the medical center, the medics are telling us every day they see patients with invisible wounds.
The trauma because of the conflicts and the fact that they are displaced, they are refugees, the new life, all this can affect their life. That's why they go to mental health service for consultations. They have care there.
With the vast majority of the refugees, that's 88% of them, being women and children, that's according to the Norwegian Refugee Council data, children here are bound to fall prey to other developmental setbacks.
We are doing vaccination, but we have noticed that there are many children who have skipped their vaccination routine because of the displacement. Yeah, and this is a problem because if a child doesn't receive the whole package of his vaccination, of the normal vaccination, the routine vaccination, it can affect his health on the short and long term.
Most men stayed back to fight. Some lost their lives along the way here. News reaching them from Sudan is that the army has made significant gains in the past few months. But while the army says it's now in full control of the capital Khartoum, the war is still far from over as the RSF still holds almost all the Darfur region in Western Sudan.
الجداد الدنقر هكذا ولا بنسى بكان جدودنا ماتوا ده كان يصلوا نمشي القوية جابانا نمشوا آمين بس منظمة كان جابوا أمني الله بكرة أنا ماشي.
The refugees have found refuge here in Adre, Chad. They've built temporary structures as their homes. They've established businesses to earn a living. And while life moves on, what most of them want is a return to their normal lives back home.